Does anyone know the tragedy of Medea? It's a very good story. Anyone on this side of the room? No. So Medea is also a very powerful sorcerer. And she was married to Jason that stole the gold fleece. She actually helped him attain the gold fleece. And he wasn't quite capable of achieving the challenges set for him by the king, which was Medea's father. But Medea fell passionately in love with Jason. And so using her sorcery capacities, she helped Jason achieve all the feats that were set for him, and she made him herbal potions to help him achieve the tasks. And anyway, they were exiled from her country, and Medea chopped up her own brother and then put his limbs out all over the sea to slow her father down, the king who was chasing her and Jason. And so Medea is she's out there. She's a powerful woman, a very powerful woman. And they end up living in, sometimes I forget the names, so I'm just going to tell this story a little bit better. Corinth. So they end up being exiled in Corinth. They live there for 10 years happily. They have 2 children. And then Jason leaves Medea for the princess of Corinth. Medea feels absolute betrayal and rage after killing her own family, being exiled from her own country, and then her husband leaves her after 10 years. So, and then she finds out that she's going to be exiled from Corinth. So she has nowhere to go. She can't go to her homeland, and her 2 boys are being exiled from Corinth because the king is scared that Medea will do something to his daughter, the princess that Jason's going to marry. So Medea begs for one more day. And she has a very powerful way of using her vocabulary and persuading people with the way that she talks. Is quite magical. And he says, all right, I'll grant you one more day so you can get your affairs together. And then what happens is Medea starts to plot her revenge. And so the king of Athens comes to visit Medea, and he says he's sterile, and he says, can you help me so that my wife and I can have children? So she says, all right, if you promise me a place to come to, then I will make the potions for you. So she has an agreement. So she's lined up somewhere else to go when she's exiled from Corinth. And so what happens there is she starts to plan to kill Jason's new wife. So she sends her children over to Jason and the new wife with a dress and a crown that she's covered in a poisonous herb. And when she puts on the dress, it's actually meant to be the wedding dress, the dress catches on fire and burns the princess. And then her father tries to save her, and anyone that touches the princess also suffers the same death. So he caught on fire and died as well. And then what Medea realized is that because she still had children to Jason, that his legacy would live on through his children. So she decided that he hadn't suffered enough for the pain and suffering that he had caused her. So Medea decides to kill her own children. And this she does. Yeah. It's one of the greatest Greek tragedies. And Medea loses all her maternal instincts for her children and kills them, so Jason can suffer. Jason hears of this and comes. The children are dead, and Medea flees on a chariot driven by dragons. So this shows us what happens in the darkest aspects of the Scorpio energy, where we can really lose ourselves and try to sting the defensiveness because we're suffering in our own pain. And Medea's rage and jealousy became so strong that it outpowered her love for her own children. What this story represents symbolically is that we do this. When we feel enraged, when we feel jealous, when we feel betrayed, we kill our own projects. We kill our creativity. The children represent our creativity. And I'm sure everyone can relate where you've just had those days where life is not going good, so you just refuse. It's like, why should I bother doing this anymore? Those days. And you kill your own creative projects because you're wounded and you're hurting. So Medea, the story of Medea reminds us, don't get too caught up in your funk. Don't put the children to sleep just yet, Don't kill the children. They are sort of the three myths that I wanted to bring to you today under the Scorpio umbrella. Is the land of Hades going into the underworld, Hecate, and Medea. So Hades and Hecate represent, we can go into the underworld, we need to build the light, and we can extract our deepest treasures about us, but we have to be prepared to go in and face those unknown parts of self. And so we can find that in the astrology chart, we can find that when we get on the mat and we go into subconscious cleansing and rebirthing and things like that, and self-inquiry and journaling to help us see what is in our shadows. Because if we don't explore what's in the shadows, we can become like Medea. We can become jealous, we can become enraged, and what we do is we spin the energy out. So it's something out there. It's that thing's fault. It's your fault, not my fault. Okay. And so with the Scorpio energy, we have the opportunity to transform that kind of thought pattern that is destructive and poisonous and toxic. And when we can see it in ourselves, then we can see it in others. So we can see it when others are then projecting onto us, and we can go, I'm not going to get involved in that. And we can also have compassion and understanding. And if we're really wise, then we can be with that person that's projecting and we can help them through it. And that's the magic, again, of Scorpio. Because, again, we don't separate. When we've done the work on ourselves and we see the shadow parts of ourselves, we can see the shadow parts in others when they're projecting out. And instead of being repulsed, attraction and repulsion is very much Scorpio and Plutonic kind of energy as well. And instead of being repulsed and going, this person's toxic, I want nothing to do with them, we can actually have that consciousness where we can see it and have a really good heart-to-heart. And we can support that person in becoming clearer in how they're projecting without making them wrong or without shaming them or making them feel blame. And that's the rise in that's the coming up from the underworld, and where we move from the consciousness of it being about me, myself, and I, and what I need, and what I create, and what I want, and my power, into helping empower others, seeing others. Because Libra is relationship, but Scorpio is how we relate in relationship, how we merge, merging in all relationships at authentic levels, Scorpio. So I thought what we might do is to use some of Hecate's tools. I've got the horse drum. Beautiful horse drum. So again, Hades' symbology is the horse, and Hecate's symbol is also the horse. The dogs, horses, and owls. And this is a rattle that I made a while back, and it's made of horse and barn owl feathers and a few other things. So that came to me in a dream to make it. So we're going to go into a short rebirthing. Does everyone feel comfortable to do that? So that the astrology is now not just in your head. It's not just words, but you actually get to go, right, okay, here we are. Sun's in Scorpio. Moon is just about to go into Scorpio. We're having the new moon tomorrow in Scorpio. So in Scorpio, opposite Uranus. So there's a real opportunity here to liberate, to have an upgrade, and to really extract, to go down deep and extract for the upgrade. Okay, and so that's what we're going to do in this little rebirthing. Also, Mercury is in Scorpio and Venus is in Scorpio, so it's in full-fledged now, full-fledged. So if you just want to close your eyes down, I'll just come around with some tuning forks first and just put the vibration into the space of Pluto, Scorpio, the Sun, a little bit of Venus and Mercury as well. So the Pluto, music of the spheres, the Pluto is a C sharp. So just close your eyes down